Today we're going to be going over Unit 6, Lesson 2 notes using the 69, 99, 95, 99.7 rule. So hopefully you remember from Lesson 1, these numbers, they talked about our standard deviation, how far it is away from the mean, how much the data is. Okay, so one of the most common examples of normal distribution is scores on standardized tests like ACTs and SATs. So this one we're talking about the ACTs. In 2010, the mean score was 21. The standard deviation was 5.2. Why does that make sense in the normal score? Why does it make sense that scores are distributed normally on a standard deviation test? So think about thousands of millions of kids are taking this, and with that much data, a lot of them are going to fall in the middle, and then we have some extra people who score higher and lower from that, but the majority of them are going to score in the middle. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to use information to sketch it. You don't need to use too much technology to check your graph. We're just going to use your calculator. So what we're going to do, so we're going to draw our distribution, and I'll get that one. And we're going to make it look like a bell curve. Mine's never going to be perfect, but we get this one. We know that the mean is going to be 21. So here is 21. This is our mean. So what is in the middle? Okay, so we know that also that the standard deviation was 5.2. So for the first standard deviation, we know that we're going to add 5.2 to 21. We're going to get 26.2. Then if we add again another 5.2, we'll get 31.4. And add another one, we get 36.6. We can also go the opposite direction. So we're going to go 21 minus 5.2, and we should get 15.8. Again, minus the 5.2. Oops, not that far, right here. We're going to get 10.6. And again, 5.2, we get here 5.4. And we're going to connect the lines on it. Whoops. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and just draw straight lines up. These are your inflection points. Okay. Now, I'm going to get in a little bit more information here to help us. So from here to here, about here, that is 68% of all the data is in here. Then between 10.6 and 31.4, 95% of all our data falls in here. Okay. Now we could also break it up even farther. So how much would score between 21 and 26.2? We know that from 15.8 to 26.2, it's 68. So if we halved it, we could figure out that this is 34% from here to here. And from here to here, it's also 34%. And we can do that a little further. But let's go ahead and answer some of the questions. Okay, let me move that. Says, okay, what percentage of the students scored below 21%? So if 21 is in our middle, how many of us scored below it? That should be an easy 50%. Okay, about what percentage of the students scored above 16%? So we can see we're going from 15.8, because that's a little bit that's close to it. We're going to go from here all the way up. So we know that we're going to be adding the 50% from the 21 up. And then we need to add what this is, which is 34%. And that's going to give us 84%. Now the next one says how many of them scored between 11 and 26. Let me get a different color so it makes it a little bit easier to see. Let's go there. Okay, so we want to go from about right here to about right here. How much would that be? So we know from going in here, okay, that is, oh wait, to 20, yeah, so 11 to 26. Okay, so we have to sort of think, we could do it a couple different ways, but we know from here to here, it's 95%. And if we divided 95 in half, so from here to here, that would be 47.5%. And from here on would again be 47.5%. So we could take this part plus this one to get in between. So we can take it to be 47.5%, and we can add it to our 34%, and we're going to get 81.5%. Okay. So it says, your friend Calvin would like to go to a very selected college that only admits the top 1% of all student applicants. Calvin has good grades and scored a 33 on the test. Do you think that Calvin's ACT score gives him a chance of being admitted? So they only take the top 1%, okay? And if he's at 33, so he's about right here, okay? He's not going to be in the top 1%. Top 1% is basically all the way from here to here. That's the top 1%. But we could say he is, so we could look up, he is going to be in the top 5% because he scored 95, better than 95% of all of them, but he didn't score on the top one. So no, he is not the top 1%, but he is in the top 5%. Okay. All right, so again, we have another one. So this one, eating popcorn, one of my favorites. I love eating popcorn. So they studied eating microwave popcorn. So many students like to eat popcorn as they study for the ACT. Microwave popcorn producers assume that it takes the kernel to pop is distributed normally with a mean of 120 seconds. So we know that. And we also know standard deviation of 13. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we'll do it, and then we'll come back to answer the question. But let's just go ahead and start graphing as much. All right. Doesn't have to be perfect. Mine are never perfect. So my mean is 120. So we know that was definitely not a very good straight line. Yeah. Today is not my day to write straight lines. Sorry about that. Yeah, today's not my day. So there's 120. And we're going to go 13, add 13 on both sides. So here, if we add 13, we get 133. And then we get 146, 159. And if we do it again, going the other way, 107, 94, 81. I'm just spacing it out, making it a lot easier. And then I like to go ahead and put in some of the data that we've been working on. So going to put it in. And then we know from here to here, this is 68%. From here to here, that's 98%. And our last one is going to be 99.7%. All right, so now it says, if you're a devoted popcorn studier and you don't want to have a lot of unpopped kernels, but you know that if you leave the bag in long enough to be sure that all of them are popped, some of the popcorn will burn. How much time would you recommend for microwaving the popcorn? So if you put it in for 100, if you do 120, we know that is the mean. If you go from 107 to 133 seconds, you know that only about 68% is going to be popped. If you go to 146 seconds, then we know that 98% will be popped. Okay. So this is where you decide where you think you should have it pop. And you're going to write a sentence. What do you think it should be? Do you want it to be just at 120 seconds? Do you want it to be one standard deviation above, where, think about it, that would be 50 plus the 34%, that would be 84% of it would be popped. If you went to 146, so here, if you chose 133, you're going to be better than all of that. Okay, so that's 50 plus 50% plus the 34%. Okay, if you think it's going to be 46 seconds, that would be 50% plus the, what was it? Sorry, my mind's blanking, 47.5%. You had to divide 98 divided by 2. Okay, and you figure out what is the percent. So you decide and you write one sentence telling us how much time you would recommend it. Finish that up and then go ahead and work on your assignment.